Afternoon, 2:25 on the 28th for, I believe, this is November 1st in the afternoon. Now, I'm pretty sure, I didn't mark it, I should have, but I'm pretty sure I've gone through Psalms 27. I did take a hiatus and do Psalms of Thanksgiving yesterday. So I'm jumping back in on 28. It's funny, I've watched a preview of video of going out to Bethel's Leadership Conference, and it's Banning Liebscher being interviewed. And he, before they even got into what the Zoom video is going to be about as far as prepping us for the leadership advance, the guy asked him a question. He goes, what was it like being a preacher that traveled with kingdom culture? And he just talked about, he loves affirmation, loves attention, which, I mean, I think a lot of people God calls to speak do. But he said, you know, they would make their banners and their posters, and it would be just as big on one side, Jesus culture, and it was Banning Liebscher on the other. So it's like worship and preaching, and yet worship would get done, and he would go to preach, and people would be booing and heckling and throwing and say, get the worship team back up. Or people would come up to him afterwards and say, hey, were you the guy speaking? No offense, but we came here and paid, you know, to hear Jesus culture. And time and time again, he's just saying, he gets to the end of one, and this youth pastor that he knows that, you know, he was the youth pastor at the time. So it's like, this guy knows who I am. And he comes up to him afterwards and he thinks, this guy, you know, got touched by my message and he is going to want me to minister to him. It's like, an aha moment. The guy comes up and he says, hey, can you go is there any way you get the worship leader so I could get a picture with him? I say all that to say, welcome to ministry. And I think sometimes God will do that over and over and over again to prepare your heart so that you're focused on him and ministering him, and that you're dead, you're out of the way, and you realize that God is the one that gets the glory. God's the one who is the story. Okay? So God gets the glory. God is the story. So that you don't get derailed because people don't see you. In fact, the more you minister and the less people see you and the more they see God, the better you're ministering. I'll say it again. In fact, the more you're ministering in a way that people don't see you, but they see Jesus. They don't remember you, but they remember the word. They don't remember your gifting, but they remember an encounter they had with God, the better you're ministering. So, last verse of 27, and we're going to 28. Wait. That's right, wait. Wait patiently for the Lord. Be brave and courageous. Yes, wait patiently for the Lord. There's a message right there in and of itself. 28th Psalm. I pray to you, O Lord, my rock. You are my rock and my salvation. Do not turn a deaf ear to me. For if you are silent, I might as well give up and die. Listen to my prayer for mercy as I cry out to you for help, as I lift my hands toward your holy sanctuary. Do not drag me away with the wicked, with those who do evil, those who speak friendly words to their neighbors while planning evil in their hearts. Give them the punishment they so richly deserve. Measure it out in proportion with their wickedness. Pay them back for all their evil deeds. Give them a taste of what they have done to others. They care nothing for what the Lord has done or for what his hands have made. So he will tear them out, and they will never be rebuilt. I'm laughing. I should be laughing, but again, I've said this before reading a psalm, but it reminds me of the day of the intercessor in another city, in another town, where I was a youth pastor, and there was a big public service going on in the church. They did every year, an annual feast of wild game, a line all the way out the door, and yet people freaking out and getting out of line because here were the intercessors in the sanctuaries. Oh, God, if there's an ungodly person in the worship team, stop on their head. Just crush their head. Stomp on their neck. Crush on them. Just crush them. Kill him, knock him out. It was just like, well, what are you doing? Oh, we're praying, we're interceding. And I'm like, whoa. Well, that's the kind of David prayer I'm not really jiving with during intercession for your leaders. Now, for people who are, specifically, maybe do a study of who the enemies were that David spoke of, because they were enemies of himself. They were enemies of God. They were enemies of God's nation. And hopefully those are not the people on your leadership team. I digress. Praise the Lord, for he has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord is my strength. The Lord is my strength and my shield. I trust in him with my whole heart. He helps me, and my heart is filled with joy. I burst out in song of thanksgiving. The song of thanksgiving. This is the Psalms 28, this psalm of thanksgiving, the song of November, the psalm of November. Anyway, be thankful. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks. Anyway, the Lord gives his people strength. He is a safe fortress for his anointed king. Save your people. Bless Israel, your special possession. Lead them like a shepherd and carry them in the arms forever. Shepherd, lead us. You know, I thank God for my heritage. I thank God for the hymns. Early on in ministry, especially the senior pastorate, man, which I was not prepared for and ready for. You know, when you're a youth pastor, you're the backup quarterback. When you get called into the game, it seems like everything you do is great. And then become the senior pastor, and you are it. You are the dog. You're not the goat. You're the dog. You just, everything's wrong because you don't line up to the guy that you followed who was there 42 years. What were you thinking? Well, I was just obeying God. I digress. When you look at this, I would be discouraged, and I would go into the sanctuary with the old hymnal, and I would just start singing page after page, lead me, won't you lead me, or shepherd lead us, and all these different, and I would just have this incredible time alone with God. You know what? That's what David did every day. Strengthen himself in the Lord. Psalms 29. Honor the Lord, your heavenly beings. Honor the Lord for his glory and strength. Honor the Lord for the glory of his name. Worship the Lord in the splendor of his holiness. The voice of the Lord echoes above the sea. The God of glory thunders. The Lord thunders over the mighty sea. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is majestic. The voice of the Lord splits the mighty cedars. The Lord shatters the cedars of Lebanon. It makes Lebanon's mountains skip like a calf. It makes Mount Hermon leap like a young wild ox. The voice of the Lord strikes the bolts of lightning. The voice of the Lord makes the barren wilderness quake. The Lord shakes the wilderness of Kadesh. The voice of the Lord twists mighty oaks, and it strips the forest bare. In the temple, everyone shouts glory. Oh, I can feel that. I love to be in the house of the Lord when everyone is shouting glory. The Lord rules over the floodwaters. The Lord reigns as king forever. The Lord gives his people strength. The Lord blesses them with peace. I'm going to end there for today. Come back with me. I'll be dressed the same, maybe, because I'm pre-recording. But I'll be thinking of you as I'm in California, hiking in the mountains. Okay, maybe not when I'm hiking in the mountains, but there'll be times when I'm thinking about you and praying for you. Bless you.